Tonight, we are witnessing scenes that were unthinkable just hours ago, scenes that the Islamic Republic was built to prevent, scenes that have not occurred in the 45-year history of the regime. Protesters, thousands of them, have reportedly breached the security perimeter around the residence of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, not a government building, not a police station, not a symbolic target, the home of the Supreme Leader himself, the man who holds absolute power over 85 million Iranians, the man whose word is law, whose image adorns every public space, whose authority was supposed to be beyond challenge. That man is now, according to multiple sources, under direct physical threat from his own people. Security forces are scrambling. Helicopters have been spotted above Tehran. Communications are being disrupted across the capital. And the question on everyone's mind in Tehran, in Washington, in Jerusalem, in every capital watching this unfold is simple. Is this the night the Islamic Republic falls? The eruption we are witnessing tonight did not come from nowhere. For months, Iran has been a pressure cooker: economic devastation, social repression, political suffocation, all building toward a moment that everyone sensed was coming, but no one could predict. The economy has collapsed, inflation has made basic goods unaffordable. The rial has lost nearly all its value. Middle-class families who once lived comfortably now struggle to buy bread. The repression has intensified. Since the Mahsa Amini protests in 2022, the regime has executed hundreds, imprisoned thousands, and deployed unprecedented surveillance against its own citizens. The isolation has deepened. International sanctions have strangled what remained of Iran's economy. The regime's allies, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, have been systematically degraded by Israeli strikes. And perhaps most importantly, the fear has faded. The same fear that kept Iranians quiet after 2009, the same fear that suppressed dissent after 2019, the same fear that the regime has always relied upon, that fear has been replaced by something else: rage, the kind of rage that makes people willing to die, the kind of rage that cannot be controlled, the kind of rage that tonight has brought thousands of Iranians to the gates of Khamenei's compound. The first reports emerged shortly after evening prayers. Crowds that had been gathering throughout the day in various parts of Tehran suddenly began moving, not randomly, but with purpose. They converged from multiple directions, overwhelming police checkpoints that were designed to handle dozens, not thousands. By nightfall, the crowds had reached the Beit Rabari, the official residence of the Supreme Leader in northern Tehran. This compound is not an ordinary building. It is a fortress, multiple security perimeters, revolutionary. Guard units, Basij militia, electronic surveillance, anti-aircraft systems. The Beit Rabari was designed to be impenetrable. It was designed to withstand any threat, foreign or domestic. And yet, tonight, that fortress is surrounded. Videos circulating on social media the regime is desperately trying to suppress show scenes that seemed impossible just hours ago. Crowds chanting death to Khamenei within sight of his walls, protesters tearing down barriers while security forces retreat, fires burning at checkpoints that were supposed to stop exactly this from happening, and most remarkably, ordinary Iranians, young and old, men and women, standing their ground against the forces that have terrorized them for decades, not fleeing, not hiding, standing. The regime's response has been chaotic and contradictory, a sign of an institution in crisis. State television initially ignored the protests entirely, continuing its regular programming of religious content and government propaganda. Then, as videos began flooding social media, state media acknowledged minor disturbances caused by foreign-backed provocateurs. Then, silence. For over an hour, Iranian state television went dark, broadcasting only the regime's flag and religious music. When programming resumed, there was no mention of the protests at all. Meanwhile, the regime's security response has been equally confused. Revolutionary Guard units were initially deployed to disperse the crowds, but according to reports from multiple sources, some units refused to fire on the protesters. Basij militia members, who have been the regime's most reliable enforcers, have been notably absent from some key areas, whether due to orders, fear, or defection is unclear, and the regular police have largely abandoned their posts, retreating to stations rather than confronting the crowds. The result is something Iran has never seen: a security vacuum in the heart of the capital. The forces that were supposed to protect the regime are nowhere to be found, and the protesters, sensing this weakness, are pressing forward. Let me be precise about what we know and what we don't know about the situation at Khamenei's residence. What we know: the outer security perimeter has been breached. This perimeter, located several hundred meters from the main compound, was designed to keep threats at a distance. That perimeter no longer exists. Crowds numbering in the thousands, some estimates say tens of thousands, are now within direct proximity of the compound. Walls. Gunfire has been reported, but it is unclear who is shooting at whom. Some reports suggest security forces firing on protesters. Others suggest warning shots. Others suggest possible defections and internal conflict among security units. Helicopters have been observed landing and taking off from the compound. This could indicate evacuation preparations, reinforcement delivery, or both. Communications across Tehran have been severely disrupted. Internet access has been throttled to near zero. Mobile networks are intermittent. The regime is clearly attempting to prevent information from flowing out. What we don't know. We don't know if Khamenei is still in the residence. It's possible he was evacuated before the crowds arrived. It's possible he remains protected by the inner security ring. We simply don't have confirmed information. We don't know the full extent of security force defections. Reports suggest some units have refused orders or abandoned posts, but the scale is unclear. We don't know how the regime's inner circle is responding. Are they unified? Are they fracturing? Are some already negotiating their own survival? These are the questions that will determine what happens next. And here is where we must understand what makes tonight different from every previous Iranian uprising. In 2009, during the Green Movement, protesters challenged the election results but largely respected the system's legitimacy. They wanted reform within the Islamic Republic. In 2019, protesters focused on economic grievances. They were angry about fuel prices, corruption, and mismanagement. They wanted relief, not revolution. In 2022, after Mahsa Amini's death, protesters challenged the social restrictions of the regime. They wanted freedom, especially for women, but the movement, while powerful, remained decentralized. Tonight is different. Tonight, the protesters are not asking for reform. They are not demanding economic relief. They are not seeking social freedom. They are going directly for the head of the regime, the Supreme Leader, the man who, in the Islamic Republic's constitution, is the representative of God on earth, the man whose authority is absolute, whose decisions are final, whose person is supposed to be sacrosanct. That man is now a target, and by targeting him directly, by surrounding his home, by chanting for his death, by refusing to disperse, the protesters are rejecting not just Khamenei, but the entire system he represents. They are saying this regime has no legitimacy. They are saying this system cannot be reformed, only replaced. They are saying the Islamic Republic ends tonight. While the situation at Khamenei's residence dominates attention, it is critical to understand that Tehran is not the only city in flames. Reports are flooding in from across Iran. In Isfahan, protesters have seized control of the central square and are burning government buildings. Security forces have reportedly withdrawn entirely from the city center. In Shiraz, crowds have surrounded the local Erg headquarters. Video shows Basij members fleeing on motorcycles while protesters give chase in Tabriz. In the Azerbaijani majority northwest, protesters are not just challenging the regime, they are raising regional flags, suggesting a potential ethnic dimension to the uprising. In Mashhad, Iran's second-largest city and a religious center, even some clerics have reportedly joined the protests, a stunning development that suggests fractures within the religious establishment itself. In Avaz, in the Arab-majority southwest, oil facilities are reportedly being blockaded by workers who have joined the uprising. This is not a Tehran phenomenon. This is nationwide. This is a country rising, and the regime, which might have been able to suppress protests in one city, cannot suppress an entire nation at once. History reminds us how quickly regimes can fall when their moment comes. The Shah of Iran commanded one of the largest militaries in the Middle East. He had the support of the United States. He had a secret police that was feared throughout the country. And yet, in 1979, when the revolution came, it came fast. One day, the Shah was in power. Weeks later, he was fleeing for his life. The same pattern repeated in Romania in 1989. Ceausescu gave a speech from his balcony, confident in his control. Hours later, he was running for a helicopter as crowds stormed his palace. In Tunisia in 2011, Ben Ali was in power. Then, suddenly, he wasn't. He fled to Saudi Arabia in the middle of the night, never to return. Authoritarian regimes appear solid until they aren't. The walls appear unbreakable until they fall. The leader appears invincible until he flees. Tonight, we may be witnessing another such moment. The Islamic Republic has survived. For 45 years, it has crushed every challenge. It has killed every uprising. But tonight, the challenge is at Khamenei's door, and history suggests that when the crowd reaches the palace, the end is near. What makes tonight so volatile is that every actor involved is under maximum pressure. Khamenei, if he is still in the residence, faces an impossible choice. If he orders a massacre, he may trigger the very defections that would doom the regime. If he does nothing, the crowds will grow bolder. The Revolutionary Guard commanders face their own calculation. Loyalty to Khamenei has been profitable, but loyalty to a falling regime is suicide. Some are surely wondering whether this is the moment to switch sides. The protesters face the risk of brutal crackdown. They know the regime has killed before over 1,500 in 2019 alone. They know that if they fail, the reprisals will be terrible. And yet they have not gone home. The international community faces a decision: how to respond if the regime attempts a massacre or if it collapses entirely. Neither outcome is simple, and Iran's regional adversaries Israel, Saudi Arabia, the Gulf states, are watching with a mixture of hope and concern. Hope that their longtime enemy might fall. Concern about what chaos might emerge. Every actor is calculating. Every actor is afraid. And in that fear lies both danger and opportunity. International reaction is coming rapidly as the situation develops. The United States State Department has issued a statement expressing solidarity with the Iranian people in their pursuit of freedom and dignity. It has called on the regime to refrain from violence against peaceful protesters. The European Union has called for restraint and urged dialogue, language that sounds hollow but reflects the uncertainty of the moment. Israel's prime minister issued a pointed statement: the people of Iran are not our enemies. The regime that has suppressed them and exported terror across the region is our enemy. Tonight, we stand with the Iranian people. Saudi Arabia, notably, has remained silent, watching, calculating, unwilling to commit to any position until the outcome is clearer. And Russia and China, the regime's nominal allies, have also stayed quiet. They are not rushing to Khamenei's defense. They are not offering support. They are distancing themselves from a regime that suddenly looks like it might not survive the night. When your allies go silent, it means they have already made their calculation, and their calculation is that you might be finished. Khamenei has not spoken since the protests began. His office has released no statement. His social media accounts have gone dark. The voice that has commanded Iran for 35 years is silent. This silence is itself a message a confident leader would address his people. He would project calm. He would assert control. A frightened leader hides. The last public statement from Khamenei's office, issued yesterday, praised the security forces for their eternal loyalty and dismissed critics of the regime as servants of foreign powers. Those words ring hollow tonight: the eternally loyal. Security forces are reportedly defecting or retreating. The servants of foreign powers are ordinary Iranians who simply want to live free. And the Supreme Leader, the voice of God, the absolute authority, is hiding behind his walls while his people tear down the barriers. His silence speaks louder than any speech. It tells us he has no answers. It tells us he has lost control. It tells us that, for the first time in his 35-year reign, Ali Khamenei is afraid. The implications of what is happening extend far beyond Iran's borders. If the Islamic Republic falls, the entire architecture of Middle Eastern conflict changes overnight. Hezbollah loses its patron. Already weakened by Israeli strikes, the Lebanese militia would face collapse without Iranian funding, weapons, and guidance. The Houthis in Yemen lose their supplier. Their campaign against Saudi Arabia and international shipping would become unsustainable. Iraqi militias lose their coordinator. The network of pro-Iranian forces that has destabilized Iraq would fracture. Syria's Assad loses a crucial ally. Russian support alone may not be enough to keep him in power, and Israel loses its primary regional adversary, the state that has armed its enemies, threatened its existence, and sought nuclear weapons. The fall of the Islamic Republic would be the most significant geopolitical shift in the Middle East since the 1979 revolution itself. Every regional actor knows this. Every global power knows this. And everyone is watching Tehran tonight, knowing that what happens in the next hours could reshape the next decades as the situation remains fluid. Analysts are considering multiple scenarios. The first possibility is regime survival. Security forces rally, conduct a massive crackdown, and suppress the uprising through overwhelming violence. This has worked before, but the scale tonight appears larger than anything the regime has faced. The second possibility is negotiated transition. Regime figures, recognizing the hopelessness of the situation, negotiate their exit in exchange for safety. This would require a unified opposition to negotiate with, which does not currently exist. The third possibility is chaotic collapse. The regime loses control entirely, security forces fragment, and Iran descends into civil conflict. This is the most dangerous scenario given Iran's military capabilities and nuclear program. The fourth possibility is military coup. ERG commanders, calculating that Khamenei cannot survive, remove him and attempt to preserve the system under new leadership. This might satisfy some protesters while preserving the deep state. No one knows which scenario will prevail. The situation is changing hour by hour.